Hello everyone, Haley here, and you are looking at a painting that I have had sitting in the studio for a few months and it needed to be finished. Now, I rather liked it at this stage. It was mixed media acrylics and inks and such on panel, and I liked it at this stage, though I was quite pleased with it aesthetically, but I knew it wasn't done. However, because I liked it so much, I didn't quite want to get to the process of finishing it with some of the inspiration that I had in my mind for it, because I was a little bit nervous that I would screw it up. Ever feel that way? Now, this painting started in my intuitive process, which is pretty common for me these days. I sit down without kind of a plan and I just start moving some color or line around depending on whatever medium I feel like playing around with that day. And so here's the original sketch. And, at this point, I wasn't seeing it as a finished painting. I was just really being in the moment with my creative energy. But when you make that switch from that moment of, okay, here's my intuitive piece, and now I want to make this a finished painting, things change a little bit. After I retranslated that sketch to the panel and blocked in the really nice rich basis of color, I needed to move it to the finished state that I was kind of envisioning from my intuitive process. And in order to do that, I had to break out my digital app, which I am not a digital art person, but I do have Procreate on an iPad and wanted to play a little bit with that. There's a big learning curve for me. Digital art is not something that I do regularly. I love getting my hands in the actual paint and touching the paper and the wood or whatever it might be. But I knew that I needed to do something where I didn't feel like I was going to blow it on that panel. And the digital app Procreate can be really helpful for that. All you have to do is shoot a decent picture of your piece and then take it into the app and start playing around with some of the brushes and colors and see how your ideas look on that digitally. So I didn't actually touch the panel, the painting that was in process, but I played around with some of the ideas on the app, and then I was able to move more confidently into making those final touches on that finished painting piece. Now, some people who teach you intuitive painting and that or process painting will tell you that this is breaking the rules, all right? That I should be going with those movements on the piece itself. But what I'm doing here is a blend of my intuitive and process painting training along with my more formal art education training, which is about working toward a certain aesthetic, a certain feel in the finished product. So yes, I'm combining a process oriented approach with a product oriented approach, and I'm interested in seeing how these two things meet and to find a place that is harmonious in my own visual language and in the artwork I'm creating. And so sometimes I stick with my intuitive process and leave a page or something like that in my art journal to be solely and wholly, fully, totally, truly intuitive, whether it gets messy or ruined or not. But sometimes I do like I did with this piece, and I take one of those ideas and I'm forming it into something that is more like a finished art piece that I might actually, for instance, hang on my wall in the house or something, or perhaps sell. So you can combine these two ideas. Now, I'm going to say that with a little bit of a caveat. It has taken me years to get to a point and to know myself in my own creative process well enough to know when I'm not tricking myself out of the edges of things that I need to be learning when I'm working with that process-oriented approach or that intuitive making. And so I'm playing with that. I'm playing with that edge and what it means to stretch that and to marry those two ideas of a very process-oriented, along with now I'm going to make a product, an offering, something that is tangibly held and seen and meant to come to a point of a certain sort of aesthetic quality that I'm shooting for, or to communicate a certain feeling that has come to me. Now, for me, that looks like something that comes to me during the intuitive process, and it's usually around a feeling. And so for this painting, that's what I was going with these strange colors and these patterns to create this sort of finished, kind of serene, harmonious image of this little, what I consider to be a spirit painting. There's a couple references to some spirit energy in here that I see clearly. And so I was really trying to honor the truth of that, and then also doing it in a way that would create a finished product on a wood panel ready to hang. And so what you see me doing on the screen here, of course, is translating what I played with digitally with that image onto the painting itself. And I used a combination of different acrylic paints, acrylic inks, which I have fallen in love with over the years now, and then paint pens even, and went back in with multiple layers at times to make the colors look finished. Now, digitally, of course, some of those colors really popped, and they often even looked a little fluorescent-y, and that's the difference you get. But I almost like how on the actual handmade art, it's a little bit more muted. It feels a little more real and not so hot like digital art can. It's one of the things I love about handmade art. And so that's what you see me doing, is finishing out those ideas. It doesn't look exactly the same as my digital sketch, but it helped me get past that stuck point with finishing this painting. I had the ideas, they weren't bad ideas, I just needed to be able to visualize it. And you can do this with paper. You could print out from your printer a picture of the image or painting you're working on, and then play with some ideas over top of the printed image as well. Or if you happen to have an app that allows you to play like this, like Procreate, which has a free version, you can play this way as well. So there's lots of ways to play with getting unstuck when you're trying to finish a painting but you're scared to take those final steps, and visualizing what it is that could work, or oftentimes what won't work. Sometimes I do this sort of thing and I see very clearly that I would have indeed taken that painting to a place I didn't like it, but with this one I landed in a place where I was quite pleased. What do you do to move past those places when you get stuck in that point of, is this piece finished? What do I got to do to finish? I would love to hear.